Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm really happy you found this podcast. My goal is to help you improve your English in a practical, enjoyable, and realistic way. So grab a cup of coffee, put on your headphones, or simply relax. And let's spend the next few minutes talking about one of the biggest challenges English learners face, building a speaking habit when life is already busy. Have you ever promised yourself that today would be the day you finally started speaking English more often? Maybe you watched a motivational video, downloaded a new app, or even made a detailed study plan. You felt excited, confident, and ready to improve. But then life happened. Work became stressful, university assignments piled up, your family needed your attention, and suddenly the day was over. You told yourself, I'll start tomorrow. Then tomorrow became next week, and before you knew it, another month had passed without much progress. If this sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. In fact, one of the biggest challenges English learners face isn't a lack of motivation or ability, it's finding a way to practice consistently, despite a busy schedule. The good news is that becoming a confident English speaker doesn't require hours of free time every day. Research on habit formation and language learning suggests that consistency is far more important than intensity. A person who practices speaking for just 10 minutes every day often makes more progress than someone who studies for 3 hours once a week. Small, repeated actions gradually become automatic. And that's exactly what a habit is. Instead of relying on motivation, successful learners build routines that fit naturally into their daily lives. Let me share a story that perfectly illustrates this idea. A language learner named Sophia dreamed of studying abroad, but her English speaking skills were stuck at an intermediate level. She worked full-time and believed she simply didn't have enough time to improve. Instead of giving up, she made one simple promise to herself. She would speak English for at least 15 minutes every single day, no matter how busy she was. Some days she practiced shadowing while walking to work. On other days, she spoke to herself in front of a mirror, describing her plans or talking about her day. She also recorded short voice notes and listened to English podcasts during her commute. The sessions weren't perfect, and they certainly weren't long, but they were consistent. After several months, Sophia noticed something surprising. She no longer had to translate every sentence in her head before speaking. English started to come naturally. A year later, she passed a C1 English exam. When people asked how she had achieved such a high level, they expected her to say she studied for 6 hours every day. Instead, she smiled and said, I just never stopped practicing. Her progress wasn't the result of one extraordinary study session. It was the result of hundreds of ordinary days when she chose to practice, even for a few minutes. Stories like this aren't unusual. Many advanced English speakers don't become fluent because they have more free time than everyone else. They become fluent because they build habits that fit into their daily lives. They understand that language. Learning is more like going to the gym than preparing for a single exam. You don't become stronger after one workout. You become stronger by showing up again and again, even on days when you don't feel particularly motivated. Many people believe they need the perfect conditions before they can improve their speaking skills. They think they need a quiet room, a language partner, or an entire free evening. But perfection is often the enemy of progress. The truth is that you can practice English almost anywhere. You can describe what you're doing while cooking, summarize your day while walking home, repeat sentences from a podcast during your commute, or talk to yourself in front of a mirror for just a few minutes. These small moments may seem insignificant, but together, they create hundreds of opportunities to speak throughout the week. The first step to building a speaking habit is changing the way you think about practice. Instead of asking yourself, when will I have time to study English? Ask, where can English fit into the life I already have? That simple shift changes everything. Rather than creating a completely new routine, you connect English to activities you already do every day. This technique is called habit stacking, and it's one of the most effective ways to make a new habit stick. One of the easiest examples is practicing English immediately after brushing your teeth each morning. Another is listening to an English podcast while making breakfast, or repeating new phrases during your daily walk. Because these activities are already part of your routine, your brain begins to associate them with speaking English. Over time, the habit becomes more natural and requires less effort to maintain. That's exactly what we're aiming for. Not perfection, but consistency. In today's episode, we're going to explore practical strategies that busy learners can use to build a speaking habit that actually lasts. We'll discuss techniques like shadowing, mirror practice, active recall, spaced repetition, and immersive input. More importantly, you'll learn how to combine these methods into a realistic daily routine that fits your lifestyle, even if you only have a few minutes to spare. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clear plan to help you speak English more confidently, one small habit at a time. Before we dive into each technique in detail, let's take a quick look at some of the most effective speaking methods used by successful language learners around the world. One of the best-known techniques is shadowing. This is where you listen to a native speaker and immediately repeat what you hear, trying to copy not only the words but also the pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation. At first, it may feel challenging because native speakers often talk quickly, but with regular practice, your speaking becomes smoother and more natural. Another powerful method is mirror practice. It may sound a little unusual at first, but speaking to yourself in front of a mirror can dramatically improve your confidence. As you talk, you can observe your facial expressions, maintain eye contact with yourself, and become more comfortable expressing your thoughts aloud. Many learners discover that after practicing in front of a mirror for just a few weeks, they feel much less nervous when speaking to other people. A technique that is often overlooked is active recall. Instead of reading vocabulary lists over and over again, challenge yourself to remember words without looking at your notes. For example, after learning 10 new words, close your notebook and try to use each one in a sentence. This forces your brain to retrieve information, making it much easier to remember later when you're having a real conversation. Another excellent strategy is spaced repetition. Rather than studying a word once and forgetting about it, review it after one day, then 3 days later, then a week later, and again after several weeks. Research has consistently shown that reviewing information at increasing intervals strengthens long-term memory much more effectively than cramming everything into a single study session. One of my favorite methods is habit stacking. Instead of trying to create a completely new routine, attach English practice to something you already do every day. For instance, speak English while making breakfast. Describe your surroundings during your daily walk, or summarize your day while brushing your teeth. Because the existing habit already happens automatically, adding English to it becomes much easier than starting from scratch. Another highly effective technique is immersive input. This simply means surrounding yourself with English as much as possible. Listen to podcasts while exercising, watch YouTube videos in English, change your phone's language settings, follow English-speaking creators on social media, or read short news articles every morning. The more your brain hears English in everyday situations, the more familiar and natural the language becomes. The important thing to remember is that you don't need to use every method every single day. Choose 2 or 3 techniques that fit your lifestyle and enjoy the process. Language learning is not about finding the perfect method, it's about finding methods that you can practice consistently. Even 15 or 20 minutes of focused speaking every day can produce remarkable results over time. Small, consistent actions are what transform beginners into confident English speakers. Finally, don't underestimate the power of recording yourself. Spend 1 or 2 minutes talking about your day, your goals, or something interesting that happened recently. Then listen to the recording. At first, you might notice pronunciation mistakes or awkward pauses, but that's completely normal. In fact, listening to yourself is one of the fastest ways to identify areas that need improvement. If you save these recordings, you'll also have a wonderful record of your progress. After a few months, you can compare your newest recording with your very first one, and you'll probably be surprised by how much more fluent and confident you sound.